Welcome to Cinemassacre's Rental Reviews. Our featured rentals are...
All right, welcome back to another Febru-Carrey. This is going to be The Mask.
Yeah.
I'm very glad we're not doing The Mask versus Mask.
the movie about Rocky Dennis?
Yeah, you remember that one?
Cher and Sam Elliott and Laura Dern's in that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you Google The Mask comes up.
Yeah.
I remember it.
No, let's not talk about Mask. That's a sad movie. That's a really sad...
very different movie. Yeah, no.
It's a good movie.
It's a very good movie. I put it on one day as a kid thinking The Mask was playing.
Yeah, if you get those mixed up, that's another one where you're in for,
I kept watching. I don't know why I kept watching. But I was like, oh wow, this is like super depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but it's not smoking.
It's not smoking. Now, when The Mask came out in the theaters, I gotta admit, I loved it, and I still love it. I think this is a good movie, but it's a little strange. But I think this is the first one where I started to really enjoy Jim Carrey movies, because Ace Ventura, which we just talked about. I did not like that one when it came out, but this was the first time where I was, how do you say, I was with it at this point. I jumped on the wagon, you know?
You were jiggy with it in the 90s. You were jiggy with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, well, we weren't jiggy with it yet.
Oh, okay.
That would come with, what was it, Men in Black? Was that the song from
Men in Black?
No,
it was around that time.
It was on Willennium, I think, wasn't it? Or was it?
It wasn't in any of the movies? Wasn't it in the credits?
No.
Oh, not even the credits. Okay.
No.
I was just coming up with 90s.
Okay, never mind. Okay, that's fine.
So I was a kid when this came out, and I was like on board with everything Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
On board.
Yeah, so
I was jiggy with Jim Carrey.
Well, this was 94, so you were what, like 6?
No, I was like 4 or 5. Yeah.
You were that young?
Yeah, I was that young. Yeah.
Like I was 10 when this came out.
Yeah.
And this came out the same year I think we talked about before as Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
So I was like Jim Carrey'd out. Like I was in.
Oh,
I knew you were younger, but I just didn't know what when you think of it when you think that The Mask, that was the first time I was like, oh wow, yeah, you really were.
Yeah, I was very. I quoted this movie for years.
Oh, wow.
I loved this movie. Didn't even realize it was a comic thing until way later.
Yeah.
But no, this movie still holds up. It's still really funny. No.
Yeah, and the comics, of course, if you did see him at 4, I'd be really interested to know, because the comics are darker, much.
Have you read them or?
No, I've seen some panels from them, so I've seen what happens.
So unlike some people like Justin Silverman, when I review a comic book movie, I want to look at some of the comics. You know, I don't just jump into things like Scott Pilgrim and talk about my experience being a projectionist. I want to talk about the comics. I skimmed through them last night. So it started in a book called Mayhem. The Mask was like one of 3 stories for a couple issues. And it did super well that they spinned it off. So, like, the Mask comic is actually about the detective from this movie being the Mask, not Stanley Ipkiss. That was, like, the previous one.
Who was the Jim Carrey character?
Yeah.
Stanley Ipkiss.
Very different. When I was skimming through, there was only one thing from the movie that was from the comics. And it's when he's doing balloon animals for the bad guys.
Oh, okay.
Only in the comics, he murders them with a machine gun at the end instead of just scaring them off. Those were the only similarities I could find. This seems like a Ninja Turtles thing where they took a comic that was very edgy and they're like, let's dumb it down for the kids, but then there's like a condom joke which doesn't really fly.
Yeah, when I saw that, weird,
yeah.
So, I mean, I was like 14 when this came out, but like the condom joke, I didn't know what that was.
I didn't know for years.
Yeah, I thought it was a balloon because that's what it looked like on the screen. I just thought it was like a deflated balloon.
Yeah.
And then watched it, later I was like, oh, wow, okay.
So it's probably not the best representation of the comics, even though it's a good movie. But do you want to go into the plot of the movie now?
Yeah, well, I mean, also just on that same thought, the comics were just extremely bloody and like really dark. Yeah. And
it was Dark Horse comics.
Yeah. So when you watch this, it kind of has that weird, like, where there's some adult humor in it, but it's also, it's kind of an undecided tone.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't know if it's trying to be like a kid's movie or...
I mean, it does feel like a live-action Looney Tunes kind of, like how you would have to do that. And even old Looney Tunes cartoons had some adult humor mixed in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of like kids could enjoy it, but it has jokes for the adults in there.
It's like an actual family movie.
Yeah, but it is still kind of strange how, like, okay, so first of all, on the Looney Tunes thought was that in the 90s, it seemed like Looney Tunes was more popular than ever, at least in my lifetime.
Suffering succotash, I'm the star this week.
Ooh, why?
Cause this week at KFC, you can buy a Sylvester mug like me for $2.95 with every $5 purchase.
Everyone will think they told a pretty tad.
I like it like that.
Yeah, I don't know why that was. I think maybe because a lot of cable stations were just rerunning them.
Oh, it was so syndicated,
You used to be able to watch them on TV all the time, but now they don't.
Yeah.
And I think that reached the apex when like Space Jam came out. But I remember like kids in school would have like the Taz like this, you know, kind of stuff.
Yep, I had all that shit.
Yeah, Looney Tunes was huge in the 90s, and then it just went away. I mean, I guess it didn't entirely go away, but it's not as big now.
Oh, do you guys remember the Warner Brothers store at the mall?
I remember the one in Atlantic City. That one was awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Disney store, but you can go in there and they had a big rocket where you could like crawl into and like play with the things and all that. Like I don't remember, but that was a lot of fun as a kid.
But there's a lot of Looney Tunes stuff in this because it's New Line Cinema, which is Warner Brothers. So there's like Tasmanian Tiger stuff everywhere.
Yeah, and it's also Taz is even in the mask. Like it's on the pillow when he's transforming into the mask and doing his like tornado spin.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that the first time around, but there's also the Tex Avery cartoons. He's watching the cartoon on the TV with the wolf when he's like watching the dance girl and he's like bugging out. You know, his eyes are like jumping out of his skull and all that. So basically, like it has a lot of that Looney Tunes humor in it, or a lot of just the classic cartoons in general. And then at the same time, it's like it's kind of trying to create a new cartoon character, except like he doesn't really have. I mean, he has a catchphrase. I mean, he has a few catchphrases, I guess, but it's kind of a weird sort of like creation of a character based on classic elements.
Right.
But it would be interesting to see how that would be sequelized. Like, I mean, I know it was in the comics, but I mean, the way it was done in the movie, like, they tried to make that sequel. There was Son of Mask.
But, oh my God.
I don't even know if I've seen all of it. It's terrible.
Oh, it is very horrible.
Oh, I actually just ordered the movie poster for that, and the movie poster is amazing because it's like hollow. Like holographic, like reflective material, and it's all silver, and it has the mask in the middle. So when you walk up to it, it looks like you're wearing the mask.
Oh, really?
The movie poster.
Well, that's more creative than anything they did in the movie, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, you could go different, because like this movie plays up the idea that like the mask heightens your inside. So he's like real shy, but he wants to be outgoing. He really loves cartoons, and it exaggerates that. Whereas in the comics, from what I can tell, you just put the mask on and it makes you a wacky cartoon guy. So I kind of like that element. Yeah. And, it plays in when the bad guy wears it, he like turns into an evil monster. So you could have done clever things in sequels, but I just don't think anyone would have liked it unless it was Jim Carrey.
Well, I mean, now that we're talking about the movie directly, do you want to talk about like what's it actually about?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I guess we didn't really say, but I suppose we could just say like, Jim Carrey is Stanley Ipkiss, and he is basically this guy who's kind of like insecure, and then he gets this mask which gives him all this confidence. The mask is this magical, like ancient mask, turns him into the character that we're talking about here. And there's also a bunch of gangsters who are looking for it. And it basically, I mean, to sum it up, it's your zero to hero story, where he just goes from being a nobody and then becomes this like sort of comic book superhero kind of Looney Tunes character.
But only at night.
Only at night, I guess.
At night,
But then at the end, he has to make that decision to just, be himself. So that's basically what the movie's about. Yeah, but the character is so strange because, like there's like parts in it where he gets like squashed onto the pavement, and then he like peels his face off, and then his eyes are still stuck, and they kind of pop back in, and he's like,
"Look, Ma, I'm roadkill." Ha ha ha.
Like, it's hard to describe, but it's sort of just, it's this odd personality that is sort of trying to be like a Looney Tunes character, but it comes off in this really awkward and strange way, which in turn makes it funny again.
But by the way, I like how you said he's like trying to be a superhero, and it's like he barely does anything heroic.
Not much,
He shoves car parts up a guy's butt.
Oh, yeah.
He robs a bank.
I mean, he doesn't he stop the criminals?
he stops crime like occasionally, but it doesn't seem like that's on the forefront of his mind.
Yeah.
He seems more obsessed with doing conga lines with the police officers.
Oh, Cuban Pete is such a great part.
Cuban Pete is in my head. I can't get it out. I can't get Cuban Pete out of my head.
They call me Cuban Pete. I'm the king of the rumba beat. When I play the maracas, I go chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom.
And another part of his personality, like Looney Tunes characters, he does a lot of impressions. So in this movie, he does Edward G. Robinson, Clint Eastwood, Judy Garland, Sally Field, Elvis, references to Old Yeller, The Fugitive, and Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, but I feel that was more. I know that might have been in the comic, probably not. But Jim Carrey would do that all the time, especially in like Ace Ventura. Like that's just his gag was impressions, and he was like, I think from like Canada, Toronto, or whatever. And a lot of those guys are impressionists, and he just threw that into his other acts, especially The Mask and especially Ace Ventura. And then speaking, like you're talking about how it's a cartoon, eventually became an actual cartoon on TV.
Yeah, I remember watching it. It was good.
And it was okay. It reminded me of Freakazoid, but not as good, because it was like zany, but not...
Yeah, I couldn't get into that or the Ace Ventura cartoon. I couldn't get into either.
Yeah. Did every show he did, did every movie he made had a cartoon?
Did Dumb and Dumber?
Dumb and Dumber had one.
Surprising, and I never heard of a single one of them until the YouTube era.
Ace Ventura had one, but we already talked about that.
Yeah.
There's been a few.
I think we already talked about that.
I think that's it, just Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. Yeah.
So those three. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that Ace Ventura had a bunch of PC games, which we talked about in the Ace Ventura episode, but I know this had an SNES game that you and Mike played recently from the last year, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And that looked fun.
I honestly forget because we do so many, but I think we got stuck in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, horribly stuck, and we got very frustrated. So it started fun, from what I remember, and then it became a disaster. So Cameron Diaz, film debut, I believe.
Cameron Diaz is hot as hell in this. Holy shit. I forgot how hot she was in this.
I was, 14 when this came out. Yes, I was thinking about her an awful lot.
Oh, my gosh. Did that roll into Something About Mary? You had a little, you know what I mean?
Both Charlie's Angels, man. She was
Full
big.
throttle.
Yeah. And she's still fine now, but holy shit in The Mask, is she hot.
Just in case she's watching this, Tony.
Just in case she's watching. There's a bunch of like actors in this. Like, I got sad because Reggie Cathy, I think his name is, one of the bad guys' henchmen. He's a really good actor who died last year. He was like Luke Cage's dad in Luke Cage. He was Freddy in House of Cards.
Right.
Really good actor, and I'm like, I had no idea he was in this until I rewatched this.
Yeah, I saw him, and he was also the really smart kangaroo in Tank Girl.
Right. Tank Girl seems kind of similar to this, where they took like an edgy comic. Yeah.
I love all the bad guy actors because they look like anyone who's a bad guy in a Steven Seagal film.
Yeah.
They all just look like they're too
You know who the main bad guy was, right?
What's his name?
I think that's Zed from Pulp Fiction. I'm pretty sure it's Zed from Pulp Fiction.
I used to think Tommy Lee Jones was in it. I watched it again. He's not.
No, he's not.
maybe you're thinking Two-Face.
He looked kind of. He looked kind of like him in it.
This is 94?
Yeah.
This is part one of Jim Carrey's Greene trilogy, because then he did the Riddler after this, and then the Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's a thing. I just
Greene trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna call it that now.
The Greene trilogy.
The Greene trilogy. The green face.
They really
trilogy.
drop in quality as they go.
Yeah. No, he does put on a green face a lot. Yeah.
Man, this DVD case all purple.
Yeah.
Why isn't it green? Also, like with these Warner Brother cases, a New Line, I always hated them because they were like that paper material, and they always had these proof of purchases. Like you're gonna rip this up and send it in.
Who the hell is gonna rip that off of the DVD?
If you like Jim Carrey, don't forget Dumb and Dumber is now on DVD.
Ooh.
And it's another one of those shitty ass cases.
Oh, not as shitty as that Truman Show case. Where's that at?
Oh,
yeah.
Not like this with the locks?
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
Why do you need that?
Why? It distracts us all the time.
You know what the good thing about those?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I snap them off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
So here's the good thing about these stupid things here. I mean, first of all, just in case, just to make sure we make it clear.
Yeah.
So this one's got those stupid tabs on it. Like, why do you need that? It still snaps shut.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you want to get rid of these things, you just pull them off. It's that easy.
So quick.
Yeah, you can't really pull these ones out without work. Though I think you could get like a X-Acto blade and take them out, but
Well, I guess one thing we haven't really talked about that we should is the special effects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like ground-based. This is Industrial Light and Magic. This is like mid-90s, so they're like post-Jurassic Park. They're like really ramping up. One thing I like about this movie is that the effects are purposely cartoony. That they still don't feel dated.
I think they aged fine.
Because they never looked 100% real to begin with.
Yeah, like his legs are like winding around, and he's like, he's, twisting in all these different shapes. His eyeballs are popping out. But at the time when this came out, that was really cool. It was just really awesome. And nowadays you look at it and it's like, okay, it's not a big deal. You see that all the time, but
it's not as jarring as some 90s. Like when we watched Spawn, that was jarring.
Oh, yeah.
Even Jurassic Park's great, but there are, like, if you notice some of the dinosaurs in the daytime, their skin looks a little too smooth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, but since it was never meant to look real in the first place, just exaggerate it, it still works. It's still perfectly fine. I love it.
I hate that fucking dog.
Oh, what?
Milo.
You don't like Milo?
Well, I looked up who that dog was because okay. So the '90s were all about fucking Jack Russell Terriers. You had the one on Frasier.
Yeah, Eddie, right?
Yeah, Eddie.
Yeah.
You had all these Jack Russells across all these different types of movies.
Wasn't that Ernest's dog too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Same
yeah,
thing.
Rimshot. Rimshot was a Jack Russell Terrier.
And I was trying to figure out if this was the same dog as those dogs. But I found out it's the dog from Mom and Dad Save the World. Because there's an alien dog.
Right.
And I want to do Mom and Dad Save the World.
Can it also be Rimshot?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
No.
It was only the Mom and Dad Save the World.
Let's be realistic. It was probably 10 dogs. They probably only credited one because who cares? But it was probably multiple dogs.
I don't know. I just don't like Jack Russells. I'm sorry.
I love Milo.
He was fine in this.
Milo is adorable. I love when he puts the mask on. Oh,
the fucking dog mask.
Yeah, wait, we didn't mention James. Who made the mask?
Who made it?
Yeah.
As in...
Who made this mythological mask? Ben Stein tells you who made the mask.
Oh, Loki?
Yeah, the Norse god Loki.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like fabricated.
No.
Mask.
Really wanted one of the Marvel movies to just have the mask somewhere in the background.
Well,
just have Loki with the mask. You just have to do anything about it.
Who owns New Line?
It's Warner Brothers. That's a competitor.
Yeah,
that's
probably
not gonna happen.
Yeah, everything's got to be so separate.
But I know that in Son of the Mask, Loki's actually in it, and it kind of reminds me of Tom Hiddleston's Loki a little bit.
Well, actually, if it's now that we're talking about Loki, there's a deleted opening to this movie with the Vikings, Leif Erikson, coming over. They're the ones that bury it.
Oh, that's why the water. That's why there's a.
That's
chest
why it's
under
in
the
the
river.
chest. And they make a joke. They're like, "Shouldn't we claim this land?" And I think he says something like, "Leave it to the Italians" or something. And then he leaves. And there's another deleted scene. You know the reporter that's like flirting with him?
The redhead, yeah.
Yeah, and you think they're gonna get together, and it turns out she betrayed him. Notice how she just disappears. It's because the bad guy threw her into the printing press, and they cut the scene out.
Oh.
He throws her into that printing press, and then the newspaper prints her face all flat. Oh. So she gets horribly murdered, and they just cut it out. So she's just gone from the movie. There's the only deleted scenes I can think of.
Well, she kind of deserved it. She fucking betrayed him.
She did. What?
After saying that he's a nice guy. And...
Yeah. What a jerk. I love that club that they go to.
Yeah.
Oh, the Coco Bongo, or what the fuck they called it?
Yeah. As a kid, I thought clubs were going to be real serious and getting into them would be the most important thing in the world. And then I got older, I'm like, I don't want to go to a fucking club.
No, I've been to...
Let's go to a bar, it's the same thing.
I have been to and been thrown out of many clubs. And...
I've been thrown out of places, but I've never been to a club that was that
Like
strict.
the Coco Bongo? It looked like it's fucking like if you did a modern day... what do you call it? I Love Lucy thing. That's where Ricky would be.
Yeah.
At the Coco Bongo.
But I've never been to a place that judged you based off your appearance. No, you can't come into this club.
The only time I can remember getting rejected from a club, I think I remember it was in the winter and I had a hat on.
Yeah.
And then just a winter hat. And I show up and he's like, "Oh, you can't come in." I was like, "Oh, why? You can't be wearing a hat." And I just took it off right in front of him. And then he thought I was being rude, so then he was giving me a hard time. I'm like, oh, do I have to arrive without the hat too?
There's that club in LA, No Vacancy. I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of you go up and it's a fake, old timey, brothel, and then the bed moves out of the way and you go down these stairs. It's a speakeasy kind of place.
Oh yeah, I went to a speakeasy in LA.
And I went there with the guys and the Game Chasers and Ryan and stuff when we were at SoCal Retro. A few years ago, the convention, and I went there, and the guy's like, "I only wear shorts because, of course," and he's like, "No shorts," and I'm like, "Well, what the fuck am I gonna do? So I went to Target next door and got 4XL women's running pants because they stretch, and I
Jesus Christ, Justin.
wore those to the prom.
Just go somewhere else. What the hell, man?
Well, did you at least get in after?
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay, cool.
I'll send you some pictures from that.
Yeah, I'm sure you were the hit of the party in your women's running back.
Well, I was meeting the fucking game chasers. It's fine.
I had harder times getting into frat parties than I did clubs. Frat parties were the worst. Sorry if you guys were in a frat. You guys are the worst when it comes. Oh yeah, all the girls can come in. Guys, you're all $30 each. And I'm like, this isn't even like a real establishment. This is technically illegal, you asshole. Just let me in. Like, what the hell?
Damn, considering you're John Belushi from Animal House, how do you have a problem with that?
Anyway, The Mask.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. Yeah, good times.
Good movie, not accurate to the comics, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It tells a story.
You know, I'll say, did you have a favorite moment? Like, what made you laugh the most in this comedy? It is a comedy, after all.
Oh.
Because I only laughed out loud once in this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Watching it again, like verbal, like ha, like LOL.
Okay. Yeah.
I think,
And it's when the cop's knocking at his door after he robbed the bank.
Yeah.
And he goes to open the closet, and all the money pours out everywhere. I just cracked the fuck up.
I think rewatching it, off the top of my head, the one scene that made me laugh last night is when the cop was like, yeah, I'm sure Stanley Ipkiss is just gonna fall into my lap, and then the bad guys throw him out of the car onto the cop's lap with all the evidence.
I like the cops.
I thought that was pretty good.
But Doyle, they fight their caddy with each other. What do you think, James? What's your favorite part of this?
Off the top of my head, I mean, it's just the part when he's talking to the Cameron Diaz character, and I forget her character name in the movie.
I forget too.
Okay,
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, so he's talking to her, and the valet driver comes with his old beat up car.
The fucking Studebaker.
He's trying to pretend it's like not his, and then because he doesn't want her to think he has a crappy car, and then he takes the ticket anyway, but he's like, no, this isn't mine, but he still wants the car. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how he plays that scene.
I do like then they do a dream sequence where like the Porsche drives up and he's like, you know, they do that whole scene, which is funny. And then later they do the other car gag where it's like the stretch limo that's like 10 times too long.
It's like super long.
The movie has a lot of sight gags that are from old cartoons too, rather than just like, you know, whatever.
Oh man, good time. Don't watch the sequel. I want to do the sequel.
Don't go anywhere near it.
Well, here's the thing. I want to do the sequel, but I only want to do the episode if we get the guy who won the contest to be in The Mask 2 to be in the episode.
Oh.
Where would you even begin?
People apparently know who it is. I think we've gotten, people gave us leads on who it is.
Oh, okay.
Hey, guy, if you want to review The Mask 2 with us, hit us up, and we'll talk about that movie you didn't get to be in.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And someone called Ben Stein.
Yeah, let's get Ben Stein if you're around.
I mean, then there's also the question. It's like, well, figure out who the person is first. Like, what kind of person they are. Who knows who it could be? You know.
Hey, guy, if you're not in jail or currently wanted, become on our show. We'll talk about Son of the Mask.
Exactly.
I do like how Ben Stein's also in the sequel as the same character.
Yeah.
And how his whole book about like your personality and your id versus your real self is what the whole movie's about. He should have just given him the mask at the end and had it on the wall, you know? I don't know.
Wow, Ben Stein is the mask.
Oh my God.
Win Ben Stein's money. Win Ben Stein's mask.